Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater. And I've criticized Rian Johnson now for approximately a year and a half. And I don't take a lot of pleasure in it. Some people out there on YouTube absolutely love calling him Roundhead Johnson, Ruin Johnson, all sorts of other ad hominems, simply because they think it's funny. And I'm not going to lie, those are funny nicknames. But I've always liked to criticize him for what he did, not who he is. I think you can separate the two. But one of the things I think that I and the other people can absolutely agree on is that when it comes to criticism, Rian Johnson simply has none of it. He wants nothing to do with it. If you criticize him at all, he's going to come at you childish AF. That's what he does. And this is proven a week ago in a Twitter exchange that is now just kind of coming up into prominence. And this is true. This really happened. So he posted this, just says hashtag poetry. And it's a picture here from Priscilla Page from December 25th, 2015, saying, "My dick is a Mary Sue." Now, if you're really wondering what that's in context to, that probably is in context to the argument surrounding Rey, because I believe that it was December 20th, 2015 is when, or no, it was like December 15th. Either way, it was right after The Force Awakens came out. There's a lot of articles that came out trying to say that Rey's a Mary Sue, that all this, she's nothing but a Mary Sue. And so he retweeted it because, pushing back on it, and then immediately tweeted out a baby-ish thing, whatever. Anyway. The "my dick is a Mary Sue" thing is really what matters here. But this guy here named Kevin responds with, "Oh my God, look at me. I ignore criticism of story and only point to ridiculous examples." Which, in essence, when people were talking about Rey as a Mary Sue, I don't believe she's a Mary Sue. I've been very adamant about my belief in that particular regard, but a lot of people out there do. And it is a bit of a valid criticism when you look at Rey as a whole, when not looking at perhaps anything else involving her history, but we can have that discussion another day. But people out there do believe she's a Mary Sue, and that's their belief, even if they're wrong. But Rian Johnson responded back with hashtag raffle me dick off. Because, that's a mature answer to give when you're a director of a film that grossed 1.3 billion, director of a film that ultimately broke a franchise, director of a film to where, if you anger the fan base, they're not going to show up to support your next movie in the in that particular fandom and in that particular series. And no matter how much protection you get from Kathleen Kennedy, money talks, BS walks, and the more you push it, the more you're going to find yourself without a job. But at the same time, he probably might already know he doesn't have a job and he just simply doesn't care, which would make a fair amount of sense, right? Kathleen Kennedy's defending him. So if he comes out and attacks the fan base continually, which he always seems to do, then egg is pretty much just on her face, right? He's made his money in this particular world. If he gets booted out of it, he still gets paid. Right. And then he can just go back to doing low budget movies like Looper, Brick, and the Brothers Bloom. Right. And go back to make those kind of films or go back to direct television. And he's not going to care. And that's the truth of it. He's simply not going to care. But anyway, the exchange comes on. And this is where Kevin has a good comeback. He says, "Come on, dude. The writing between stories has flaws. Pointing that out is not a problem. Good writing is expected." Well, that's a subjective one, because as much as we want good writing, we don't always get good writing, but we might get adequate, mediocre, good enough writing, but maybe not good writing. Not always. Now, Johnson responds back with, "Yes, I absolutely see your welled out and a rational argument that hashtag Madik." He's not even really talking about Rey in this particular regard. Kevin isn't, at least, but Rian is really, really, really honing in on Madik. That's what he's all about, is Madik. Sure. Okay. So Kevin responds back with, "Okay, my point is that while it might be the Night King or Snoke, if you build up a hero or enemy, not paying it off is cheap. Be it for character development or not, if you lay the groundwork for characters, pay it off. It's not brilliant to surprise viewers." Which is a fair argument. Now, I could argue back on the Night King situation because I think he actually died pretty perfectly, given the context of the situation and given everything that Ari has done over the span of the past 8 seasons kind of led to that moment for her being the one to do it. And we can, again, have that discussion at a later time. But when it comes to Snoke, Snoke was a character that we didn't spend years getting to know anything about. See, the Night King, we at least had some backstory to the Night King. We have no backstory to Snoke. Don't know who he is, where he came from. Is he a prince? Is he a pauper? Where did he get, where did he get his training from? Who was his master? Is he Sith? Is he not a Sith? What is he? Is he a Knight of Ren? Where did that come from? There are elements at play here that we did not get answers to. So Rian, of course, in his infinite wisdom, responds with this. I absolutely agree that you should not kill off a villain without explaining their, my dick. Yeah. And of course, showing a screenshot here of when Vader threw the Emperor down that hole into the center of the Death Star, killing him. At least so we thought, until after seeing the Rise of the Skywalker trailer, or the Rise of Skywalker trailer and his laugh and him being on set. Look, here's the whole point. The whole point essentially is this. That's not what you want to use as an example there, Ryan, because in the original, we got the Emperor. We learned of his existence in A New Hope. We saw him in Empire, and we got to experience him in Jedi. He'd already completed his plan of taking over the galaxy. The Empire had ruled for 30 plus odd years. We kind of figured out what his motivation was. He already was in power. He wasn't attempting to run a coup on the New Republic. He was already in charge for decades. He simply wanted more power and thought Vader would be the one to deliver it to him. But then again, Luke was the one who, was able to find the humanity in Vader, and the Emperor wanted to snuff it out in order to further tighten the leash on his pet. That's what that was. We got more of that explained to us in the prequels, but we still have that. And we've had it for nearly 20 years now. That is not a solid explanation, unless somehow, throughout your infinite wisdom, J.J. Abrams' infinite wisdom, Kathleen Kennedy's infinite wisdom, somebody decided to take what you did and work it into the next film, right? To work in Snoke to the next film somehow to find out more about him. Is he a clone of Palpatine? Who knows? At this point, possibly. It's possible at this point. It could entirely be possible. We have no idea. Probably not, though, because Palpatine's death in the time that Snoke died, we're talking 30 some odd years. No, not at all. But that could be explained. But that was never your plan. See, Lucas was telling us a story of the Empire, was telling us a story of this, was telling us a story of how the Empire came to an end, of how the rebellion won. We know that. We know that going into it. We know that because that's how it was explained to us. We got a full conclusion with the character of the Emperor. We got that. We didn't get any of that with Snoke. So even though Kevin might have come at it a little bit dickish, let's be fair, responding to him with "raffle my dick" is not really the best answer. And when he furthers on to explain his point, you respond back with "my dick." And then when he further explains his point, you come back with, "Well, no one ever cared when the Emperor died. Come on, you guys. Like, that was 1983. Like, no one had blogs back in 1983. No one had YouTube videos in 1983. You guys, come on." But you have to understand that there was a satisfying conclusion to that. There was a satisfying conclusion to the Emperor because we established that he was a bad guy. We established what his motivation was. It was pretty much there. It got further explained down the road, 14 years later, or 15, 16 years later, at the beginning of episode 1, and then taking us through the prequel trilogy. So unless there's something that's going on with Snoke that we don't know about here, then, and if that's the case, I have no problem walking back my statements. Because then we were at least given something to explain why you killed off the big bad of the franchise halfway through the franchise without any explanation, backstory, or really any reason. Like, oh, he's dead now. And there's Ryan like looking at the camera going like, "Did I subvert your expectations? I bet you I did." But then people are noticeably upset. So instead of explaining why you did it, which you could have just explained why you did it, right? What you should do is have a video, make a video saying, "Here's why I killed Snoke." And then if people bring it up to you, you just send them that link, right? Like Thomas Wilson, who played Biff in the Back to the Future franchise, has got a list, like a business card with answers, or some sheet he carries on him with answers to general questions people have for him. And at least that's the theory. That's the story, the running story. And he hands it to them like, here, this will answer everything you need to know and more, courtesy of Biff Tannen. You could do that. At least it's not a direct response, but you are saying, here is exactly why I did what I did. And maybe trying to control the story, control the narrative in a way that actually benefits the viewer. But no, my dick is more of an appropriate response. Dude, you're killing the franchise, man. Like, you're literally killing the franchise. You're literally killing it. You single-handedly are doing this. And do you know how hard it is to still care about Star Wars right now, given how many people out there absolutely dunk on it? And they dunk on it repeatedly because people like you don't understand why long-term die-hard fans of the franchise are furious at how The Last Jedi played out. Now, it could be explained if there was a situation where we knew that this was a part of the script, a part of the overall arc, overall trilogy, and going into the next piece, it was going to be explained. But we know that you wrote this without consulting J.J. Abrams, and that J.J. Abrams had to start from scratch in order to complete this derailment that you did, and you don't care. So I hope you enjoy the $1.3 billion that your movie made, because people like you are fundamentally destroying something that others have spent decades loving. Now, you say you're a fan. Why don't you prove it by actually explaining your thought process behind this in a way that is not going to be just a reference to your dick? Anyway, your thoughts, your opinions, ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to them. Write them down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, please thumbs up the video, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and may the Force be with you. Except for Rian Johnson, because quite frankly, he probably doesn't care about the Force.